so you can put it on YouTube.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna get started in a minute, just getting the YouTube stream up. Okay, now let me get. All right, good morning, everyone, to the Transportation Council's Active Transportation Advisory Committee. Just before we get started, for anyone who's online, can you put your name, the organization or agency that you're representing, and your title in the Zoom chat, just for our attendance? And just as a reminder, this is a hybrid meeting, so we're in person here at the Transportation Council office, but if you can just mute your microphone, please, and if you have a question, there'll be times through the presentation, you'll probably be able to just unmute and speak up, but you can also raise your hand, and then that will help us organize and make sure people aren't talking over each other. Our agenda for today, we're gonna have a presentation by Carrie about the Transportation Council's Regional Vision Zero Action Plan. And then we'll get to some of our regular discussion items. And just an update from the agenda I sent out last week is I added a complete streets tip scoring criteria discussion, so, but everything else is the same.
Okay. So if you were at our planning committee meeting last week, I apologize because this is literally the same presentation I gave at that meeting. But we did want to make sure that this group, the Active Transportation Group, was aware of the Regional Vision Zero Action Plan that we're just starting now. So the presentation is really broad. It talks about the purpose and outcomes and the tasks that we're gonna, that are in the scope of the RFP basically, and then the schedule that the project has. This slide is from the Cambridge Systematics is our primary consultant on the project. It's from their proposal. It's not meant to actually be read. The point is just that it is a large project and there are a number of subs and tasks, and so there's a lot of people working on it. Key outcomes of the plan are to build a shared vision of roadway safety in the capital region and establish interjurisdictional partnerships across engineering, enforcement, education, and also emergency response. There was, so this project, we're calling it the Vision Zero Action Plan now, but it is actually funded by the Federal Highway Administration through their Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program. And the Town of Colony's EMS also got an SS4A grant to pilot some emerging technologies related to emergency response. So we're gonna be able to coordinate with them on that project to, I think, better integrate emergency response into our plan. To develop a comprehensive safety implementation program. So in other words, develop a list of fundable projects that could be funded with future Safe Streets and Roads for All grants. There's planning grants as part of that, but also implementation. And also for the Highway Safety Improvement Program funding, which is a funding source that exists continually, unlike the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. And then the governor's traffic safety committee funds some enforcement and education programs. Their highway safety program is more open in terms of eligibilities, and so this grant, this plan could lead to some newer types of applications towards the highway safety program. And then we will have an annual reporting methodology on the impact of the implementation program. So this plan should be integrated, coming down from the New York State Strategic Highway Safety Plan, which there is a new one that was finalized at the end of 2023 and does include a vulnerable road user piece, which they included as an appendix. So then ours, and then the implementation projects, ours will be developing a list of implementation projects, which will be coming, integrated into our regional plan. I don't have performance measures, data to show you. I removed that from the presentation, to save time, but I just wanted to note that, the performance measures that we're gonna be focusing on are fatalities and serious injuries. So it's not so much the all crashes, metric that we have used more heavily in the past. And then also including bicyclists and pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries, as an emphasis within that. This regional Vision Zero plan and also the state's strategic highway safety plan are both gonna be leaning heavily on the FHWA's safe system approach. So the New York plan's vision was to strive for an equitable and sustainable transportation system that works towards zero fatalities and zero serious injuries for all roadway users. And the graphic on the right, I think, demonstrates well the importance of redundancy. So we're not just talking about safe road users, we're just talking about safe roads, but all of those things are important. And then just a little bit more on the difference between the traditional approach and the safe system approach. Like I just said a minute ago, the traditional would be just prevent all crashes, and the safe system is looking at preventing specifically death and serious injuries. We used to talk about improving human behavior, and this approach is to design for human mistakes and also limitations that the human body just has. Going from controlling speeding to reducing the kinetic energy within the system, from individuals being responsible to sharing responsibility, and then reacting based on crash history to proactively identify and address risks. This slide, these numbers are referring to fatalities. And so it's from 2000 to 2019. And it's highlighting countries that had adopted what we are essentially calling the safe system approach. And so showing that the number of fatalities on their system has decreased much more than on our system, which is to the right. One of the requirements of the Safe Streets and Roads for All program, and a requirement to be able to get implementation funding, is that you have a target that has been adopted in whatever your jurisdiction is. So for us, that would be the region, so our policy board. Did a high-ranking official and our governing body publicly commit to an eventual goal of zero roadway fatalities and serious injuries? And then whether that commitment, the answer needs to be yes. Whether the commitment either included setting a target date to reach that zero, or setting one or more targets to achieve significant declines in roadway fatalities and serious injuries by a specific date. So basically, you need to say you have a target of zero fatalities and serious injuries, and you need to have a date. But that date doesn't have to be to zero. It can be to something that is a significant decline, and significant decline is not further defined in this. And this slide shows some examples of places relatively close to New York State that have adopted some kind of Vision Zero target. So they all have, the ones towards the bottom are a little bit newer, and they tend to have a date round about 2030 to eliminate or have a get down to zero fatalities and serious injuries. For our grant, the slide outlines the planning structure and the community engagement. So at the top is council's transportation council, staff, and our administrative committee. This is a regional grant, but we are partnering in a financial sense with the cities of Albany, Troy, Saratoga Springs, Watervliet, and the village of Green Island. And so those, somebody from each of those is, and as well as NISTOT, because they were providing the match for our portion, the Transportation Council portion of the grant. They're part of what we're calling the administrative committee. And then we have the Regional Operations and Safety Advisory Committee, which meets quarterly, generally speaking, but for this project, we're gonna have one additional meeting that is probably gonna be in January of 2025. The Community Advisory Committee, which will also have quarterly meetings, and the purpose of that is to better integrate the needs of traditionally underserved populations, so people who may not be coming to this meeting or to our planning committee meeting or to our regional operations and safety advisory committee meetings. And then stakeholders with 10 standalone meetings that the consultant team will be conducting or coordinated with existing meetings, again, that the consultant team will be attending. That 10, is for the consultant contract. But if there are additional, we end up with too many that we want to do, I can go to additional meetings and talk about the plan or wherever we happen to be at in the planning process. And then the general public, there are public workshops worked into the scope of work. And we also will have a website with an interactive map for people to note problem locations on it. Okay, the rest of the slides are, almost all the rest of the slides are the tasks that were included in the scope of work. This project initiation is kind of administrative stuff. Equity is throughout the scope of work, but this task too is to determine indicators of equity priority areas and a kind of a methodology to do that. So we do want to try to focus on the concentration and severity of burdens specifically relevant to traffic safety. But we're looking at incorporating the things in the bullets. So in the Transportation Council's environmental justice Title VI analysis, New York State has disadvantaged communities mapped out. Justice 40 has a few different ones, notably one that was particularly relevant to the 2022 solicitation for the Safe Streets and Roads for All, which was the grant year that we were funded under. And then the USDOT historically disadvantaged communities that has been used for other things. And so the idea is to develop heat maps for disproportionately impacted and underserved communities. The map on the right is from the New York State DOT's vulnerable road user appendix to the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. This is a map of high concentration areas of bike ped crashes in terms of the number of crashes, the locations where they are overrepresented, and then also actually more heavily weighted than that is the potential for safety improvement at those locations. So it's mostly not having to do with anything to do with demographics, but then there's a 10% addition based on some of the things, demographic factors similar to what's listed on the left. So we will be doing safety analysis, reviewing existing crash data and historical trend analysis, screening the network in terms of where there have been crashes and creating a high injury network. But we will also be trying to better incorporate a systemic safety analysis into the safety analysis. So not just looking at the exact locations where there have been crashes on the system, but the characteristics of the places where we have crashes and where we might anticipate high risk locations, even if there haven't been a lot of crashes at those locations. We will also be evaluating the performance of past TIP projects specifically related to safety funding. So past projects that have been funded with the Highway Safety Improvement Program funds. And also some of the governor's traffic safety committee projects that have been funded in the region. And then this is one of the public workshops is around this time. Speed limits, so I'm sure you all have talked about the new state law that allows certain kinds of municipalities to reduce their speed limits to as low as 25 miles per hour on an area speed limit basis, which does include municipal-wide speed limits. We incorporated that into this project for the communities that were financially contributing. So we will be specifically looking at the roadways in those communities. Well, the idea is to come up with a methodology that could be replicated. Exception to that is that the city of Albany recently already did an analysis for speed limits. And so we subbed the city of Schenectady instead of Albany. So what's on the screen is what was from the proposal from Cambridge Systematics on how they wanted to do the speed limit assessment. So basically they're just splitting roads into group 1 and 2. And so group 1 are basically roads that wouldn't need very much analysis. So low volume residential neighborhood streets. And then on the group 2 are roadways classified as collectors and arterials. And in the considerations row, that list of bullets is basically what's included in the US limits 2 methodology for recommending speed limits, which does include the percentile, but not only. So the consultant, as part of this scope, will be doing some data collection for the volumes and speeds that you need to be able to input into that methodology. We also have an open contract to do counts, volume, speed, and we also can do class, although that's not related to this. So we are planning to do a number of additional counts to be able to have a more robust analysis as part of this speed limit test. And then strategy and project selection. So this will follow from the safety analysis heavily, but it will also incorporate kind of public comments or stakeholder comments or desires from the administrative committee to, create a list of construction projects, engineering type things that could go into safety implementation program, but also other kinds of, education or encouragement projects that could reduce the number of fatalities and serious injuries. We are planning on doing 10 demonstration projects throughout the regions. The idea is that these will follow from that safety implementation program from the data analysis. So the consultant will be installing them and also monitoring them. And we'll be collecting data in terms of monitoring, in terms of use at the location, but also public feedback, so surveys, and it will be an opportunity for public outreach basically during the project. Safety investigations, this refers to a more robust investigation. We said we were gonna do 40 sites on local facilities, so not on state facilities. Following NISOT's Yellow Book procedures, so the idea here is to get a list of projects that, we think would be eligible for safety funding to have a, a future CHIP project or other kind of discretionary project that could actually be implemented. And then policy and process changes, this will be, larger scale things that aren't infrastructure projects. Again, looking at the safe system approach and, things other than the safe roads and safe speeds. And we are, that commit to target and MPO performance-based planning and program circles back to that target setting that we should be doing with our policy board as part of this project. And this is another requirement from Safe Streets and Roads for All, is to have, a way to track your progress and to make that public, in terms of crash rates or whatever other, metrics you want to consider. So the idea here is that we're going to get a methodology that we can then, as staff, continually update in-house and, be able to provide that information without going back to Cambridge Systematics to update it for us. And then finally, the draft and the final Vision Zero action plans. And public workshops based on those. This is my final slide. It's the Rose Actors Regional Operations and Safety Advisory Committee. And it's right now what we think are scheduled for those meetings to be able to cover related to the Vision Zero action plan. So review is means there's some kind of deliverable that you can actually review, and then discuss is just an initial discussion about the topic. So at the May meeting, we're should be able to review the equity priority areas and the approach that we're going to use to the safety analysis, and then discuss the preliminary list of demonstration location sites. And then in August, review the safety analysis report, past performance, that's of the, past funded safety related projects, and crash equity, and have a workshop on the speed limit assessment task and strategy and project selection, policy and progress changes, and target setting. So I think that's, I might, is that you?
No. But thank you, Carrie. If anyone has any questions in the room, feel free to ask, but online as well, you can post it in the chat or raise your hand. Chat. Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Thank you, Carrie. I noticed the fatalities per 100-mile goal worth doing. I'm mainly walking these days. That's about, I do that in about a month, maybe, or 3 weeks. So that means that a person that's walking may get on the list for a limited amount of time. Obviously, a different measure will be needed for pedestrians and bicyclists as well. 100 miles is a long distance for a pedestrian, particularly to accumulate, and there is no measure of how much travel is being done by pedestrians or bicycles nationally or regionally. So it's not a unique issue. And fatalities are rather almost random as a measure. Sometimes by bad luck, you get a lot of fatalities, sometimes you get none. The severe injuries, on the other hand, are a much larger number, so I think it should, severe injuries and fatalities should be the other part of that measure. So it's not unique to the Capital District region. It's a national issue. And I don't know quite how to deal with the measure without having a measure of the activity.
Right.
It's also a long time in being discussed.
Okay, thank you. In the chat, Charles wanted to note that Albany County DOH is a recipient of the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee Highway Safety Grant Program. And Ed also noted that the ITSMR vulnerable road user fatality and serious injury data for Albany County and the city seem to have climbed from 2022 and has stayed high in 2023 at levels that are the highest since they've published that data. And his question is, are other counties in the area have the same rise in fatalities and serious injuries, or is this unique to Albany County and the city? And what are some reasons that this might be? But
Yes, I gotta add to that, and when I'm driving city, working right downtown Troy, and when I'm driving. People no longer, pedestrians don't check to see what the lights are doing, they just walk. Sometimes they got this, but sometimes they're just chugging along and they're not checking to see whether they have the right of way or anything like that. So it seems like pedestrians feel that they have the right of way all the time, and some of that might be an issue.
Sherry, have we started collecting data yet for this project?
No, not for this project.
I think that's something that we will be able to see once we have like the dashboard, and
Right,
like we'll be able to see safety data by county, and
yes.
it will be.
I don't think that Albany County and Albany City are unique in that. I'll just say that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we will move on then. To our Metropolitan Transportation Plan update by Jen. Do you need the slides or?
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay. So we've been updating everyone periodically on the status of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, or our long range plan. We have settled on a new brand and logo for a long range plan. If you were around for the last few plans, we used to call it New Visions. We are rebranding, giving it a real fresh look, really rebuilding it from the ground up, from scratch, and calling it In Motion, the plan to 2050. So the planning process has been broken into 5 phases. And part of phase 1 was it's been ongoing. It ended at the end of last year. We did a lot of data collection. The congestion management plan and the coordinated plan were a big part of that phase. Also, we developed a regional trends story map and a report. So now we're in the inform stage, and it overlaps with the imagine stage. So we are announcing that we've initiated this planning process, And we're starting to ask the public and stakeholders for input on what this plan is going to say, what are the goals and what is the vision for the region. We've developed and have released the project website, www.inmotionplan.org. If you are part of a group, whether it's part of your local government or a community group that might be interested in the topics involved in the long range plan, so whether it's stuff related to active transportation or to safety or equity or congestion or really anything within transportation, and you'd like to invite us to a meeting to present, or you have an event coming up and you're looking for people to table, please invite us, or reach out and let us know if you would like us to come. We can tailor our presentation and materials. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 30 minutes. Also, to continue to follow the status and announcements about events and meetings, follow us on social media, subscribe to our newsletter. If you haven't already, any comments can be emailed to info@capitalnpo.org. We did have our first interactive virtual workshop a few weeks ago. And we have recorded a workshop that was very similar to that, and put it on YouTube. And it'll be available on our project website so that people can do the workshop at their own pace, watch the video, and then take the accompanying survey. So if you would like to right now do the survey, you can. We are using the Mentimeter program throughout this project so that we can do as much interactive polling as possible. So if you are at your desk at home on a computer, or you have a smartphone device, you can open up a tab, go to menti.com and enter in the code 1455-9915. And you will go to the poll and be able to take the survey, or you can scan this QR code, or you can not do this, and you can go to inmotionplan.org and click on the survey button. But if you would like to right now go through the poll, you should be able now to put in your zip code, which we are asking everyone for their zip code so we can track where all of our engagement is coming from, to make sure that we are getting representative feedback from the region. Is it working?
It's working for me.
Okay. Yeah. Should have the code on every slide. Usually, when you put your responses, it is, you can see them in real time. And yes, if you can't do it and you would like to just put your responses in the chat, that works too. We can copy the chat info. Okay. And then this question, what are your barriers to travel in the capital region? What problems do you face when traveling around the capital region? This is an open-ended question, but if you can, try and be brief and put your answer in. July, it's not. Oh, this is definitely on the next slide. Maybe it will. Any other questions?
That's all right.
The first side it said it was lighting plans, but.
We will definitely have to work out any of the bugs in this software when we go, we started doing this more widespread, but it did work in our virtual workshop, so. Also, so the next poll asks you to prioritize spending on the following transportation ideas. And there's, fix roads and bridges, install technology to improve the transportation system, build sidewalks, bike lanes, and trails that make it easier to walk, bike, and roll, more frequent and reliable transit, reduce traffic delays, more electric vehicle charging stations, fix intersections and roads to be safer, add more transportation options to reduce the need to drive alone, build more roads and highways, or make it easier to move goods by air, truck, rail, or ship. And this is very similar to our, we used to have a tool on our website that let you, spend $100 on transportation and prioritize those funds. So this is very similar to us, to that old poll, and will help us in prioritizing our funding goals. Okay. Then we're asking people, what is a place you find easy or pleasant to get around? It can be local, it can be somewhere else in the United States, or it can be abroad. We've gotten a real mix of types of places. People have said everything from the Empire State Trail, so something like a specific facility, to cities in other countries that people have traveled to and found easy to get around because of either how it's built or the options available. Okay. And then we're also asking people in one word to name the region's strengths. What do you like about the region, particularly related to transportation and mobility? Okay. And then in one word, name the region's weaknesses, again, particularly related to transportation and mobility. What is something maybe that the region can improve on, or is not very good at addressing?
Seeing there are 0 responses, perhaps you should go 3 words.
Well, I think that it's not, I think that it's not loading. People said they're doing the poll, but it's not loading. Might have to download the plugin tool to every,
PowerPoint.
maybe, because I have it on my computer and it works, but yeah. And asked if we recently added these questions, and these were, these are available in our, In Motion virtual workshop. So these were not added.
This is the same poll that's available on the website. Do it anytime or it's not?
It might be different on the job board survey, yeah. Okay. So, again, if you would like to see the materials, including the story map that really outlines kind of like our baseline of where we're at the region, and provide some input and feedback on goals and vision, please go to the inmotionplan.org website. Or you can email comments to info@capitalmpo.org. You can also contact our director, Sandy Misowitz. And next Friday is my last day here at the Capital Region Transportation Council. So, I enjoyed working on this so far, but Sandy will be taking it over from here. So, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, moving on to the next item in our agenda. We will have an update from CDTA about the CDPHP cycle system.
Thanks, Hyam. Jen, just a quick note from Steve and myself and everybody here at CDPA. Just thank you for your support, throughout the years on programs like Cycle and, helping us get the new Drive program going. And you've just been a great partner to CDTA. So, on behalf of all of us, just thank you and best of luck on your next adventure. We look forward to seeing what next great projects you bring to the Capital Region. So, that being said, we are underway for the 2024 season of Cycle. We actually did a surprise launch on Friday, March 29th. We wanted to get the bikes out as early as we could last year, knowing that we were a little bit late, or this season, knowing that we were late last year. So Steve and his team took delivery of 200 brand new e-bikes a couple of weeks ago. They got those all loaded up, built into the network, and we started rolling bikes out on the 29th. So the first bikes that hit the ground were in Albany, Troy, and Schenectady. This week we are working on getting bikes into Saratoga now that the snow has melted up there. And then next week we'll be up into Warren County. So, it's been a great start so far. The bikes look great. They are performing well. We're excited to have 600 bikes in our fleet this year with the addition of that new batch of e-bikes. So we'll have 400 e-bikes, 200 pedal bikes on the streets as we continue to roll them all out. We'll be building some new racks throughout the system that you'll see popping up over the next couple of weeks. And as we're saying, everything is more this year, more bikes, more locations, more adventures. So, we're really going to use our social media platforms to make announcements and, events that we're bringing the bikes to. And we're just really excited to be out so early this year.
Thank you, Lindsay. That's exciting that it started up already with this nice weather we have this week. Our next agenda item is our regional trail planning. Rebecca, do you want to go ahead? I'm gonna.
So, you may know that the Transportation Council has collected trail data in the past. These are our numbers for the trails that we counted at in 2023. The way that our trail counters work is we install them for a couple weeks to a month-ish, and then we have a program that extrapolates from that number the estimated annual visits. So you can see we have a lot of really well-visited trails in our region, and we're excited to do more of that this upcoming season. And if you have any suggestions of trails that you want to be counted, please let us know.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, we're gonna be starting that soon, hopefully. So
Yeah,
get your
warmer weather.
ideas and. All right. Update on our UPWP since our last meeting. I think we spoke about the draft Unified Planning Work Program, but since then it's been approved by the Planning Committee and Policy Board, and 2 studies that are related to walking, biking, complete streets have been funded for this fiscal year, which started April 1st. So the first one's in Half Moon and Clifton Park, which is gonna be evaluating complete streets and concepts for walking and bike facilities on Route 109, County Route 109. And then the second one is on Route 7 in Niskayuna, which will also be assessing complete streets and looking at walk bike safety treatments in Niskayuna for the entire stretch between Colony and Schenectady. Just. I don't have any updates from the MPO working group, but I have some from some partners that maybe if they're not on the call, I'll circle back to at the end of the meeting. And Carrie's not gone, Carrie's gone, but I think Complete Street, and our updates fit within the regional, between the regional Vision Zero plan and the UPWP update. Moving on to our funding opportunities, as we've said previously, our website, the capitalnpo.org website, has a dedicated webpage for upcoming funding opportunities from FHWA. For discretionary programs, they're constantly not revolving, but some of these have been previously, but there's constantly new ones updated. Currently, there's 3 that are related to active transportation. The congestion relief program is a broad funding opportunity, but it includes things like mode shift, and that applications for that are due on April 22nd. On May 6th, applications are due for the multimodal project discretionary grant, and June 17th. I think this is a new program that wasn't last year, the active transportation infrastructure investment program. Applications will be due. These slides that I'll be sharing after, these links, those, each of those are linked to their pages, their notice of funding opportunity. And like I said, you can find those on our website for the funding opportunities webpage, which I'll also link in the notes. Moving on, just the updates of our planning initiative. This is very small type, I know, but these will also be attached to the end of our meeting notes. These are updated monthly, so also in between these meetings, you can look at the agendas for the planning committee and policy board meetings and see the status of all projects that we're doing, including ones related to Complete Streets, active transportation under our linkage program. I cannot see from this far, so we will just have to look at them after. Now I'd like to open up the floor for other updates. Let me see what's in the chat first. Okay, it's stuff related to CDPHP cycle. Yeah, in the past, Lindsay and Steve have provided updates about usage and how many rides they have. So we'll look forward to that maybe at the end of the season. But if anyone has any updates about from their organizations or has other comments that they wanna leave now's a good time. You can unmute yourself, but I mean.
Yeah, Jen is perhaps familiar with this. We had, on behalf of Manans, found 3 potential ways of getting access past 787. And we were delighted that the proposal for the opening up the walk across the bridge from South Troy to Manans was opened about 18 years ago with MPO support, DOT improvement in our sketch design that we provided. Then more recently, the project at Ward's Lane interchange, some improvements of the use of existing road diet and a new underpass under the southbound lane, southbound ramp was built again with MPO support. And we had come to you and DOT Region 1 for support of the third proposal we had, which was the potential restoration of what was previously river access for small boats called the Little River. We had support from DOT Region 1 for the study initially proposed for DEC. We weren't quite in time for their timing for those studies. We went to the Hudson Greenway, and that study is about completed. The issue basically is that this river access point with a walkway attached to it had been simply replaced by culverts. The culverts are now 65 years old, and they were probably undersized given the different climatic conditions and sea level rise. So we will be asking for a audience with DOT Region 1 and Jen with yourself or somebody else here at the MPO. And we will review the study we did for the funded by the Hudson Greenway. Basically, the lands in the area are largely publicly owned. They are an checkerboard pattern and internal landlocked private properties that haven't paid taxes in years to the county or the village or the town. So it's a issue that we will try to deal with so that when and if the culverts are replaced, we will want to have a bridge being considered as one of the options. And that will take some considerable money on the TIP and perhaps the project listed along with the other issues that are being now considered for the 787 reimagination.
Yeah, if there's anything that you would have typically emailed me about, definitely email Chaim, csimon@capitalmpo.org. I think my emails will probably get forwarded to Sandy, so they will be responded to or addressed, but
Okay, well,
if it happens before I leave, I'd be kind of.
we'll
Yeah.
probably ask through Sandy or, I don't know, I'm just a volunteer troublemaker, but the town will be asking for an audience.
Mhm, got it, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanna give a reminder, if you join the meeting after we start, can you put your name, organization that you're representing and your title in the chat? But Charles asked if we have any information about Bike to Work Day.
Not yet, we haven't decided if we're going to be supporting another group doing Bike to Work Day. We won't be hosting Bike to Work Day.
Okay, and yes, I assume there'll be information in our newsletter if we are joining someone else. That would be the that would be the place to find it. Ed gave an update from the Albany Bicycle Coalition that they're gonna have their 7th annual Free Earth Day ride on April 20th. It's gonna be 10 miles and gonna be, I guess, riding to look at different City of Albany complete streets projects. It's starting at 12:45 at Capitol Hill Golf Course parking lot, and there's a link in the chat, which I will put in the meeting notes. Um, there's two events coming up in the fall. The NYBC, the New York Bicycling Coalition, has their bike summit in October, and it will be in Albany. I can put more information in the meeting notes, or you can Google and find it. And I think is it ITSMR? The Walk Bike Symposium, New York Walk Bike Symposium, which is every other year, is in September in Binghamton this year. I think, yes, I don't have the exact date, but they've announced it it's out there, and I can put information and links to it in our meeting notes as well. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, hey everybody, just wanted to give a little update on some of the things that we're working on over here at Capital Streets. And I saw Charles's question as well. And I just reached out to Rima to see we ran the Bike to Work Day event in Albany last spring. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out what that would look like if we were going to do it again. So yeah, hopefully we'll have an update for you all soon on that. I just want to share, we held our anniversary party event, celebrating the 1 year anniversary of Capital Streets, last Wednesday. I'm sorry, 2 Wednesdays ago. Oh yeah, on the 27th. And, we had like over 120 people there. We gave a little presentation on what we've been working on over the past year. And we'll be reflecting that information in an annual report that's going to come out in the next couple of weeks. We're working specifically on 2 projects in Albany that this group might be interested in right now, in our kind of watchdog capacity, analyzing City of Albany projects on Manning Boulevard, where we've been really vocal about the complete streets needs in that corridor. The City of Albany has the final plan that they put out, or the final concept they put out for that project, severely lacking consideration for active transportation users and just really quality of life of the residents who live there, and clearly prioritizing the throughput for motor vehicles of the roadway. It's really disappointing to see that, and trying to push the city to consider all of the other things that they could be doing. So we've been put out a memo on our website, and have been talking to neighbors and constituents and trying to meet with the city. It's been really challenging to work with them. And then they're also working on Frisbee Ave, sort of in the South End Delaware Avenue neighborhood. We put out we put together a similar memo that we've been putting out this week on that project, and really hoping to see a side path or some other sort of separated facility for active transportation users on that corridor. So yeah, these are some of the things that we're working on. We're also anxiously awaiting updates from NISDOT on the 787 project. I'm hoping everyone else here is also excited and waiting and ready to dive into that info. Do you actually, do you know if we'll have an update from them when that information is available?
There's a meeting scheduled in May.
That's
I think.
the house, right?
Yeah. I think we will, we had a few months ago that they presented at Active Transportation Advisory Committee. I mean, we haven't scheduled anything, but I think we would have a significant parts of the project have another update, like they would come back to this. So I don't know if that by June, I don't know what their schedule is, and if they'll be or I think our next week's July actually, if they'll be ready for an update or if it would be in 6 months, but yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think they're public.
Yeah, as of now, the only thing I have is the May meeting I know on my schedule.
Yeah, I just think it'd be great to have them come back to this group and kind of report back. I think that was really helpful last time.
Yeah.
Voice that for the group. Oh, and the last thing I wanted to say, I just shared in the chat earlier, but I want to make sure it was picked up, and that it was clear what I was talking about the the trail counters, you know, I know another DOT project is the Sherman Ends Bridge right now. They're trying to move that forward from, they had the Pell study wrapped up now. So, it'd be great to see counts on the Sherman Ends Bridge specifically, so that, you know, as they're considering what kind of facilities they'll be providing there, we actually have that information. And yeah, I think also the trail section between Troy and Albany in general, but and maybe interesting to see both, because then you'd be able to tell, you know, how many users of that trail are potentially using the Sherman Ends Bridge. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. We can, yeah, focus on some trails between the two cities this spring and summer. Does anyone else have any other updates?
Yeah, this is Nate Owens with the town of Bethlehem. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Got a few items to share that folks might be interested in. Currently, town of Bethlehem is wrapping up a couple projects, Kenwood Avenue traffic calming study along Kenwood Avenue between the Four Corners and Delmar Bypass, looking at a variety of existing issues and opportunities for making that corridor safer, and specifically addressing pedestrian and pedestrian concerns there. We're working with Cary and CRTC to finish up a local road speed limit reduction action plan. So getting the speed limit down to 25 miles per hour. We're underway on a couple TAP CMAQ projects, Cherry Avenue Extension multi-use path, connecting Kenwood Avenue and the rail trail and the Slinkerlands roundabout. We're getting ready to launch a safety education campaign called Bethlehem Safe Streets. So we've got some ad spend. We've been working with a firm called Civic Eye. They're from New Jersey. We've been working with them on over the past year, a little bit more than a year, on creating some content. So we're getting ready to roll out a Safe Streets education campaign starting later this week, next week. And then kind of the normal sidewalk replacements and other activities going on. We're updating our zoning code to incorporate connectivity, active transportation, kind of transit considerations. And then I guess upcoming event, we've got our Walk and Roll Fest that we do each year, coming up on Saturday, May 18th. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Nate. Anyone else? Oh, that's out of order, but our tech assist projects, as you know, are always available to apply. Send us an email to techassist@cdrpc.org. It's a rolling basis, so whenever you have an idea for a project, just give us a call or send an email, and we'll work with you to get an application in. Our main schedule for the rest of this year, like I said earlier, July 9th at 9 a.m. and October 8th at 9 a.m. If you don't have those in your calendar, I can send you a new meeting invite. Just send me an email at csimon@capitalmpo.org. Just so I know, I'll get it out there, and then about a week, I'll try to get about a week before each of those meetings an agenda / reminder about the upcoming meeting. So you know about it. But yeah, if you're not on our mailing list and you want to be, send me an email. I'll make sure that you get it. Otherwise, thank you all for coming. And see you in July or at some of the walkway events throughout the spring.
If, Simon, if you or